minute, so we're not going to let you take it out. I had to get to the point where I had to propose an emergency ordinance to overturn our arborist decisions, and when they finally backed off and said, okay, we do have the authority to approve these removals, I'm happy to say that there's been about 200 sick tulip trees taken out since I got that little shock treatment to the staff, and we now have new healthy trees growing in our neighborhoods. We all know trees add value to homes, but only if they're alive. So it's really important that we get rid of these dead trees. So if you have clients that are getting ready to sell their home and they're out on the west side and they've tried to get the tree removed before and they've been denied, tell them you can go get it, and we'll even give you a free tree to get a new one back in the ground. And we also changed the guidelines in the city, so now there's an approved list of 14 trees. So when you have a species that has a problem, it's not every house on the block. We're trying to kind of integrate different species so that neighborhoods have a varied look, and we don't run into problems of these blighted issues like we have when we had liquid amber trees all planted throughout neighborhoods and tulip trees planted throughout neighborhoods. The other thing, the structural budget deficit is real. We have a $22 million deficit this year, which seems like a lot of money, but it's a very, very small percentage. It's about 2% of our operating budget, so we're going to be able to handle that. The problem is, over the next 5 to 7 years, it grows to between $175 to $200 million, depending whose estimates you read. So it's another one of those problems that gets bigger every year. It doesn't get better. To give you an idea, the escalation, $22 million this year, $46 million next year, so it's doubling. It's serious. The good news is we have a mayor that gets it. We have a mayor that understands that the fiscal condition of the city affects every single resident and every single business in the city, and has vowed that we are going to take care of this. We are going to work on it. He completely turned the budget process upside down, and instead of waiting till the week before we enact the budget to ask the community what they think, we started in January already for June's budget, getting out, asking homeowners, getting residents involved, getting business organizations involved, and saying, hey, what do you guys think we should be doing? My personal goal is I've been trying to refocus the city's budget on core services. Let's get back to what we're supposed to do as a city, and once we have all those infrastructure and health and safety needs met, then we'll look at all those other great programs that we seem to pile on in those years when we have a lot of money. And if we add programs in good years, we cut those programs in bad years. It doesn't make sense to say we have to worry about public works, police and fire, our main things, and then in a good year have all these great programs that we add on. In a bad year say, okay, we're cutting police and fire 20% to make up for it. It just doesn't make sense. We have to protect our core services. We should be doing what cities are supposed to do, and that's health and welfare and infrastructure. Pretty much beyond that, it's all icing on the cake if you have money. But we need to get back to the basics in San Jose. So the mayor has just put together a group called, the name is so darn long, I got to get a shorter name, but in essence, it's a stakeholder group to figure out a way to eliminate the structural budget deficit within 3 years.
What's the name?
The name's longer than that. I can't even remember the name. The good news is it's a group of a broad range of stakeholders. It's the first time I've seen in the city of San Jose where they actually have a stakeholder category called taxpayer. And we have 4 people on that group just to represent taxpayers. After all, we're the ones paying the bill. We should have a voice in what happens at City Hall. Another piece of good news or bad news, depending on what you think of me, is I'm the chair of that group, and it's going to get approved by council on this Tuesday, hopefully, and we'll start meeting in April with hopefully a 6 to 8 month work plan to see what we can really do to refocus government and address this structural budget deficit. So that's what I thought you guys might want to hear, but now's the time for you to ask me questions. I got about 15 minutes, I think, for questions. Is that right? Give or take. So fire away. No holds barred.
You mentioned on the affordable housing, and it does sound like that 20% is way overboard, but is there a counter proposal that we can say we support this second alternative?
No.
Oh, sorry, Pete. Go ahead.
No,
I'm sorry.
No. Let me repeat. No.
Who's going to live next to that?
The basic, that's the only proposal coming forward right now. But there's a lot of other ways to address affordable housing. Anything from soft seconds so that people can get into their mortgage, you know, packaging, loan packages like the, I can't remember, Silicon Valley Home, something or other, the groups that help people do this. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to address it. The city of Austin, I went there to visit them a little bit ago. They've got a great affordable housing program in a city that's in a state that outlaws inclusionary zoning, so it can be done. It's just a matter of, some people think that this is that magic pill that's going to cure things.
So what world do these people live in? Under the bridges.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of, you gotta, one of the big problems.
That's not what Tom meant.
No, it's
You're
not.
asking need to commit to, no, it's not.
No, one of the problems is people look at things in a small little segment and they don't look at the broader context. I'll give you an example. People say, with our budget, we need to come up with a group like VTA did a few years ago to fix their budget deficit. And they had this great group that did this great work, that came out with great proposals, and they solved the problem. Well, look at today. Look at the shape they're in.
Yep.
That group didn't do anything.
Yep.
They put a Band-Aid on it for 18 months until they were out of office. That's not what we need. It's the same thing with this inclusionary zoning. It's a Band-Aid that will feel good and look good for a short time until we discover those unintended consequences and the bigger problems that we created from it. So I'm saying, let's stop. Let's look at this big window, because I may only be in office for the next 2.5 years or 6.5 years if people like what I'm saying. But I'm going to be living here until my 2-year-old kid is at least out of high school. You know, so I'm going to be here at least another 1.5 decades, hopefully much longer than that. You know, so I don't want to just make a problem that's just going to get me out of office. I want to make a solution that's going to make the city and the county a better place.
Is there a way that,
Yay.
as the city's financial pictures get better and you start getting revenues for this, there's a way the cities can protect that money from when it comes time to state to balance their budget, and where they come in and start robbing from the cities? Is there any way you can protect that money?
You know, that it's, no, the problem is we do spend it, then they take it retroactively, and then we're really messed up. Protecting those monies is difficult because it's controlled by the state. You know, every time, you can have all these laws that say this money is allocated here and it's protected here, and they say, oh, well, the budget's bad, we're gonna do this anyway. I don't know if it's gonna take a voter initiative or what it's gonna take, but
Or 45?
it's a problem. You know, we're really at the whims of the state and the federal government. You know, they give and they take. They usually take way more than they give.
So I have a question about budgeting for the city infrastructure. In some places, the streets in San Jose are just terrible, not much better than third world countries in some places. But what they do in a townhouse complex is pretty interesting.
Right.
As of a few years ago, all the components that the homeowners association is responsible for have to be funded every
Right.
month.
Right.
So that when a roof needs to be done, or driveways need to be done, or sewer lines need to be put in,
You
there's
know,
no special assessment.
Right.
They got the money and they pay it. Does the city do any kind of budgeting like that for the infrastructure that they're?
Absolutely not. You know, and I'll give you an example. We have buildings like our convention center that have been in existence for about 20 years, give or take. But there's been absolutely no maintenance or preventative maintenance done. And now it's going to take $100 million just to get it up to snuff without adding a square foot to it. The city is terrible at that.
And it originally cost less than that?
Right around there, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. But then look at the arena, which the city owns, but the HP sponsored and the arena management group manages, that does reserve accounting and funding and maintenance, and that is one of the best arenas in the nation.
That place rocks.
And we just put in, I was just at the Sharks game Tuesday night and watched them win again on the great new signage and new Jumbotron TV they have there and everything, all in HD, because that's run like a business.
Yes. Yeah.
Like government should run, but it just doesn't. It's I talk till I'm blue in the face at these council meetings, trying to get people to understand that you can't do that in your home. you've seen those homes where people have lived in for 40 years and not done a thing, and
Yeah.
you know, you might as well just tear the thing down and put a new one. You sell the lot.